schools are stressful. I mean, there's a lot going on, the demands of a teacher these days. As a leader, I'm very aware of, the threshold, that breaking point, the burnout, and, the sustainability of a teacher it's very delicate.
Education as a profession is basically the only social service that doesn't require, as part of its credentialing or ongoing credentialing process, some sort of way to process stress and trauma. Most police, fire, EMT agencies, if there is a death or a major traumatic event, they're at least required to do a couple hours of therapy to jump back on their rigs or get their gun and their badge back. Educators are expected to go for as long as 30 or 35 years with absolutely nothing to help us process stress and trauma. And we hold a lot of vicarious trauma for the students and families that we serve.
What's burnout? It's inability to deal with the stress, because the tolerance level has been exceeded for dealing with all the forces at work in a public school. It's a lot of stress, anxiety, and chaos that's coming at them, a lot of energy coming at them every day. And I think mindfulness gives us a force field that helps them take that in, but not let it affect them in a negative way. It helps them deal with it in a more healthy and kind of patient manner.
Hello, my name is Timothy Hubbard. I am a middle school teacher in Danville, Illinois, and today I'm going to be talking to you about teacher burnout. So one of the things that we think about when we think about a burnout, we think about someone we know, someone we either witnessed or saw, and I want you to kind of see which of these next things that I list are something that you might have seen before. First one is the Remember September teacher. So the Remember September teacher is someone that only stayed with their class till September, and then they left. So typically these teachers maybe taught the year before, they are giving it one more try, and then they're just like, I can't deal with this. So they're out of there. So that's one burnout, and that comes very quickly. Almost, in a lot of cases it comes in the first 1 to 2 years of a teacher's career. Another one is the 5 and done. This is the most prevalent form of burnout in the United States, especially. Over 40% of educators leave after the first 5 years. It affects them, yes, but it also affects the educators that stay, because it's like having a bunch of reinforcements and then seeing them turn and run for, only putting in a little bit of time. And so it's very, very demoralizing for those that stay, and it can have effect on the kids too. Next one is the motion puppet. So these are the teachers that maybe look fine on the outside. They are doing their job, but they are just going through the motions. They'll just do what they have to do to get done with their job and get their paycheck. And so that's kind of the motivator. And when that's all you're motivated to do in education, oftentimes burnout occurs, because oftentimes the paycheck is not justifiably worth it in many cases. The next one is a personal pet peeve of mine. I've seen this multiple times. Professor Glum. So Professor Glum is a form of burnout which has the most effect on students. It can totally change the perception for students on what teaching is. These are the ones that literally put zero effort. It's all worksheets. It's all lecture. It's all old school. They are not willing to learn any new techniques to help engage today's generation of learners. And oftentimes they have a very negative aspect of everything, and they attempt to kind of bring down the Energizer bunnies in teaching. Like, they will try to shoot down good ideas because it would mean they'd have to do more work, or feel like they'd have to do more work. And the unfortunate part is most of the time these are the highest educated professors, as well as have tenure, so they're not going anywhere, at least without a fight. So that is the unfortunate reality that some students, a lot of students, go through these classes and are affected by this. The last one on the list is the newsworthy teachers. These are the teachers that make the news. These are the ones that do something that is just beyond imagination, crazy, and it makes the news, and normally not in a positive way. This is what gives teaching a bad rap in a lot of ways, which is unfortunate for sure. Next is talking about the blame. So what happened? Why do people get burnout? Is it just because they're not stable? They're not in a good state emotionally? What is the exact reason for it? Well, there's actually a medical or a biological explanation. Basically, when your brain is given stress at a consistent amount without a break, without relief, without relaxing, it can cause it to basically be overloaded and then stop working effectively. So it does a lot of things, like disconnects parts of your brain that help you keep it together. There's a lot of information in Dr. Lou Whitaker's article, Stress, what happens to teachers' brains when they reach burnout. And the whole concept is that there is a scientific explanation for what happens. And one of the things it mentions is that the most common burnout occupations are teaching and nursing. The two ones that require a lot of caretaking and emotional investment, and that can have a greater effect. Like mentioned in the video, there's very few professions out there that don't do some sort of burnout prevention and help you learn how to manage stress, but teaching, you kind of have to do it on your own. So I am not an expert by any means when it comes to burnout because I am a young teacher, but I do have a bit of an insight because my father has a mental disorder, one that is clinically chronic depression, and some of these methods are to help with that, and I assume they'd also help prevent burnout. And then also some of the other sources I've gotten it from are from reading books or from professional developments and whatnot. But before I move on, I just want to make another reference to the article because it is very fascinating. I recommend reading it because it helps you really understand the chemical processes and how to avoid it. But here's some of the things that might help you avoid burnout. So one of the big ones is continuing to learn. And if you're taking this course, then, well, you're already doing it. There's a reason you got into teaching, and typically it's because you had a good positive experience while learning, and you wanted to contribute to that in some way. So continuing to learn can help kind of keep your mindset in the right place. It can also give you new techniques, things to try. It'll help you improve, which will help your overall experience be better because you know how to use classroom management and engagement in your classroom, which will overall increase your students' ability to pay attention, which, makes a happy teacher. The second one is a social emotional classroom. So I am a heavy proponent of social emotional classrooms. So if you want to experience a classroom where emotions are worked through so that there's positive reactions to emotions, this is a great way to do it. And the perfect part about this is that you then have permission and the ability and can model what it is like to have the ability to relax. And knowing when to take deep breaths can have a very positive effect on your emotional effect. It actually is chemical. So when you take deep breaths, your brain releases a chemical that fights or helps your body relax, essentially fighting the chemical, which is burnout, with the chemical that is relaxing you. The next one is the reflection mirror. This is basically just saying reflect on what you're doing, see how you could improve. Always, the thing I've always heard from my parents and from multiple sources is that really, when it comes down to it, the only one you have control over is yourself. So if you can improve the way you interact with students, it might help you feel more in control. And having control in the classroom is a big way that you can keep from having burnout, because that means that you can do exciting, fun things, which everyone likes doing. It's kind of the cool part about teaching if you can get there. So there is a wrong way to do reflection, though, and that's when you're only self-critical without any positive thought. That can kind of get you into a dangerous cycle. But reflection should be a basic everyday practice for teachers, and I think it needs to be encouraged more. The next one is smile. Okay, that seems a little simple and maybe a little patronizing. It is not meant to be. It is just tricking your body into doing what you want it to do. So it's kind of like the old saying, fake it till you make it, because it actually does chemically have a response if you smile. And it might in turn make you happier just by faking to be happy. It's kind of like a river is what I used, is like if you're changing your habit, if you start to smile, then eventually it'll become natural and your body will do it for you. It requires more muscles for you to frown than it is to smile. So actually, you work harder to frown than you do to smile. So if you smile, you're actually relaxing your head a lot more, which might help with headaches and whatnot. The last one is read some books. Okay, you might be thinking, hey, we already did one on continuing to learn. Well, I'm saying this is different. Read specifically educational books. There's a lot of recommendations in there. I would definitely recommend reading something about educational stories where there is interaction, struggles, and positive responses. Because if you hear about someone else's impact, where maybe you're not to a point, or you move schools to where your previous students don't get to tell you the effect you've had on them, but reading it can definitely help you realign and think about it. I would recommend The Wild Card. The Wild Card is a book written by a teacher couple. So they both teach at the same school. I'll let you watch the video on your own time. But essentially what it is, it's a good opportunity for you to reevaluate where you are and have your creative breakthrough, which can often lead to you being overall happier teacher. Also, just read books for fun every now and again. There's a reason why you're a teacher, and for a lot of people, it's because they found an aspect of a book or something that just was like, wow, this is a good book. And for me, that was Pride and Prejudice in high school, when that wasn't the cool thing, but I could not put the book down, and that's what led me to be engaged for the first time. And then when I started answering questions in class, I started to get positive feedback from my teacher, and I never went back. So I would encourage you to do that, and read a book that is just for fun. Read a book at your kid's grade level. Maybe if you're in middle school, read a middle school level book. And I give some suggestions. I do a little book club with some of my students to keep me current, and also I can enjoy the books. Well, that is kind of my update. So I hope that you got something from it. I definitely would encourage you to read that article, and there's actually 3 other parts to the series on stress, and you can look at that. There's some very good things to know, and that would be my last thing, is that awareness is the first step to a solution, because you know what the problem is. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you around.